Blessings on blessings, yeah, yeah. Blessings on
Tonight,
blessings,
we're
yeah.
going to press the restart button and begin a journey anew with the book of Bereshit. Genesis is a word of Greek origin, and this title was given to the first book of the Bible when the translation into the Greek Septuagint began. Now, the word Genesis, it means just that. It means origin or the origin. But the original Hebrew title is Bereshit. And that's taken from the first three words of the book, in the beginning. Now, Bereshit is tantamount to one's understanding of the Bible. It contains many foundational concepts that, when understood, will guide us correctly through the entirety of the Bible. Most, when they start reading Bereshit, they fail to realize that the beginning is a period of time. It is a period that initiates what is to follow. Consider this. Luke 14:28. For which of you, intending to build a tower, sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it? Now, what this tells us is that the building or creation of something is preceded or should be preceded by counting the cost or planning, which means that the revelation of creation itself was known by Elohim prior to creation. This would be counting the cost. The redemption plan for man was known and carefully considered prior to creation. 1 Peter 1:18-20. For as much as ye know that ye were not redeemed with corruptible things, as silver and gold, from your vain conversation received by tradition from your fathers, but with the precious blood of Mashiach, as of a lamb without blemish and without spot, who verily was foreordained before the foundation of the world, but was manifest in these last times for you. Also Ephesians 1:4-5. According as he hath chosen us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be Kodesh and without blame before him in love, having predestinated us unto the adoption of children by Yahushua HaMashiach to himself, according to the good pleasure of his will. Now, one of the questions that a non-believer or one who wishes to challenge the authority of Elohim and the Bible might ask is, if Elohim is omniscient or all-knowing, why did he create man, knowing that he would fail? Well, we can find several reasons for this in the Bible itself. Revelations 4:11. Thou art worthy, O Master, to receive honor or to receive esteem and honor and power, for thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure they are and were created. Now, when answering the question, or many people when answering that question, they would say Elohim created man for his esteem, to reflect his character and his nature, because of love. All of these are correct, but allow me to give you something a bit deeper. In Genesis 1, verse 1, what is the first letter used in the Bible? The first letter used in the Bible is the bet. And what is the bet representative of in Hebrew? The house. When you understand this alone, it can change the whole perspective of everything that you are going to read. It also solidifies what we read earlier about Elohim and counting the costs. The Bible itself is the history and the story of a people that was created by Elohim to fill a house that he made for them. Even everyone that is called by my name, for I have created him for my esteem, I have formed him, yea, I have made him. Ephesians 2:10. For we are his workmanship, created in Mashiach Yahusha unto good works, which Elohim hath before ordained that we should walk in them. The book of Bereshit's authorship, it is attributed to Moshe, as well as the other four books that comprise the Torah: Shemot, Va'ikra, Bamidbar, and Devarim. It is believed to have been written in 1445 BC, 1290 BC, or sometime between the two. Now, you may be wondering why I laid it out like that, or why that is so. Well, the shortest answer I can give is that there is a discrepancy in the dating of several figures between the two main authority texts, the LXX or the Septuagint and the Masoretic. Now, the Bible itself, it does not contain many, if any, scripts where it tells you directly this is what year it is or was. Instead, it tends to give you the lifespan of its figures. And from there, one would rely on the historical records to validate. The problem is the historical record is based off of timing and dating of Egyptian pharaohs. You heard that correctly. Dating was done by attributing a period of a supposed known pharaoh's existence and then applied to date all previous and future events. This is a contributing factor of why it is so difficult to determine who was Pharaoh during the Exodus. Most Bibles we have today use the Masoretic dating system, which is, as I explained, makes usage of the historical Pharaoh dating system, placing the Exodus somewhere roughly in the 1400 to 1500 BC timeframe. If you were to utilize the Septuagint as your sole dating method, this would place the Exodus occurring somewhere roughly in the 1200 to 1300 BC timeframe. It is believed that the information that we get in Torah was dictated to Moshe by Yah and transcribed by Moshe. Numbers 33, 1 and 2. These are the journeys of the children of Yasharel, which went forth out of the land of Mitzrayim with their armies under the hand of Moshe and Aharon. And Moshe wrote their goings out according to their journeys by the commandment of Yah. And these are their journeys according to their goings out. Exodus 34:27. And Yah said unto Moshe, write thou these words, for after the tenor of these words, I have made a covenant with thee and with Yasharel. Now here, Moshe is instructed by Yah to kathab, which means to write, and also where we get the word kathaba or ketuba from. He's instructed to write devarim, or words. And he continues that after the tenor, or according to these words, has he made a covenant with Yasharel. Now we find several covenants in the scriptures that are pertinent to Yah's instruction and his relationship with Yasharel, three of which, according to scholars, are found in Bereshit: the Adamic covenant in Genesis 1 and 2, the Noahic covenant in Genesis 6, and the Abrahamic covenant found in Genesis 12, 17, and 22. This tells us that it was not only the 10 words or commandments that Moshe was instructed to kathab, but all of Torah, beginning with Bereshit. Why? Because Bereshit contains information pertinent to the covenant that Yah has made with Yasharel. John 1:40. Philip findeth Nathanael, and saith unto him, We have found him, of whom Moshe in the law and the prophets did write, Yahusha of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. Deuteronomy 31:24 through 26. And it came to pass, when Moshe had made an end of writing the words of this law in a book until they were finished, that Moshe commanded the Levites which bear the ark of the covenant of Yah, saying, Take this book of the law and put it in the side of the ark of the covenant of Yah, your Elohim, that it may be there for a witness against thee. Now, contrary to what we have been taught in school, Bereshit and the Bible itself has a track record that is unmatched. It far surpasses what science or any other creation narrative tells us. It has been challenged, tried, and tested, and still it cannot be discounted or replaced. It mentions places that have been attested to, like Havilah, the Euphrates, Assyria, Akkad, etc. Josephus, he mentions that the ark's location was known and visited during his time. And indeed, there is a location in the mountains of Ararat that contains the remnants of a wooden structure in the shape of a seagoing vessel, made of wood not native to that area. There is a location in modern-day Iraq that has the remains of the base of a tower or ziggurat, believed to have been the foundation of the Tower of Babel. Places like Ur, where Abraham was from, is a known place. Haran, Egypt, Shechem. Evidence of a global flood exists all over the earth. And Joseph's struggles in Mitzrayim are attested to in Avaris, which is a place located in the area that would have been Goshen, and also the surrounding areas as well. And the list goes on and on. Bereshit, or the book of Genesis, it forces us and the world and its readers to decide. A decision on whether you are going to believe the world or you are going to believe Elohim. You can't do both. The world says the earth and man are billions of years old, and that both came from the process of natural selection or random particles combining to form life. They tell us that from there, man evolved, and that evolution has made us into the forms in which we see each other today. Elohim in the Bible gives us a definite understanding that Shamayim, the earth, and everything therein was created by Elohim, and that Elohim formed man out of the clay of the earth with love, and breathed into him the breath of life, giving man a part of himself in the process. Now, the oldest known scrolls, copies, or pieces of Genesis or Bereshit comes from the Dead Sea Scrolls and have been dated to around the 2nd century BC. We know that they were widely spread and utilized due to the various types of scrolls and languages that they were preserved in. Some scribed on papyrus and others scribed on animal skins. The Dead Sea find revealed scrolls written in Aramaic, Hebrew, and Paleo-Hebrew. They have been compared against texts that we have in the Samaritan Pentateuch, the Septuagint, and the Masoretic texts, and they line up almost perfectly with only marginal contrasts found, mostly due to a scholastic understanding of the culture, language, and how it should be transliterated. Now, there is also the Nash Papyrus, dated to around 150 to 100 BC. You see that on the right side of your screen. And it currently resides in Cambridge. You also have the Silver Scrolls from Ketef Hanim, or Shoulder of Hanim, dated to around 7 BC, written solely in Paleo-Hebrew, and is currently residing in Jerusalem. But there is also a reference, an artifact, written in pictograph Hebrew, far older than any of these. It is called Sinai 361, and was found in Serebet el-Qadim. Now, Serebet el-Qadim is in Egypt. It's located in the western portion of the Sinai Peninsula, and its name translates in English to columns of the slave. Now, I wonder who would have been slaves in Egypt. This location served as a mining camp for Egypt. Slaves were employed to mine the area for its copper and malachite. It later became the location of the Temple of Hathor. A stone was found at this location, broken in two, with both sides containing inscriptions. The inscriptions were found to be Proto or pictographic Hebrew, and when translated, it read, "Our bond servitude had lingered. Moshe provoked astonishment. It is a year of astonishment because of the lady." Now, in English, the last word translates to lady, but in Hebrew, it says Baaleth, which is the female form of Baal. Now, this find tells us several things. For one, Moshe was a real life figure. Two, the Hebrews, of which Moshe was one, were literate, meaning Moshe and many of them could read and write. Three, it is very likely that Hebrew is the oldest known language in the world, and not Phoenician or Sumerian, as we have been told. Bereshit is comprised of 50 chapters. It covers the period from creation all the way to the death and funeral of Yasharel. Our goal is going to be to read through it in its entirety, covering a chapter per week. We, or Goshen Group, would ask that as you begin this journey with us, that you study out the chapters ahead of time for yourself. We are going to try and allow for brief questioning throughout the reading. It is going to be a great time to invite friends and family that you think may benefit from these studies. It is also a great time to start your note-taking anew, to break open that new Bible and use it as we proceed through this chapter. Speaking of which, how many Bibles do you own? Put it in the chapter, or put it in the chat for me. How many Bibles do you own? All right, I see three, three, four, three, three. Come on, Netanyahu, don't hold back. Netanyahu, Yirmiyahu, I see several. Imam Malchus got four. I know why Netanyahu doesn't want to put his number in there, but this has in times past caused concern for my Isha or my wife, but I own over 25 Bibles at last count. If I include digital copies, I probably have well over 30. Now, that is not a plug to implore you to do the same, but national statistics say that the average believer owns 9 Bibles, but only reads 4 of them. During the COVID-19 pandemic, sales of Bibles increased 12%. 88% of American households own a Bible, and the average household owns 3. 37% reads the Bible at least once a week. 59% read it occasionally, and 35% say they have never read it. 20% say they have read it in its entirety, and 68% prefer printed versions over digital. Now, how much time do you spend in each sitting reading the Bible? Statistics say that the average person spends 30 minutes per session. Another question. Do you know what the most read book of the Bible is? I see Psalms, Revelations, Matthew, Yehukanan, Psalms. All right, all right. Well, I was thinking that most of you were going to probably say Bereshit as it's the first book, but those of you who put in Psalms, you would be correct. Or what is the average age you think people began reading the Bible? 3 to 7, most people can't read at 3, but okay. 8, 30 or 30 or 40, 35, 7, 24, 50. Let's see who's the closest. Statistics say that most begin reading around the age of 9. Now, 68% say it influences their social views. 87% say they feel encouraged after reading. 90% says it makes them feel closer to Elohim. 52% say they prefer reading in the morning. And 74% say that the Bible should be taught in schools. Now, another FYI, did you know that the Catholic Church used to discourage its members from reading the Bible? Now, they did this for several reasons. They believed that Protestants would use the Bible to challenge theirs and the Pope's authority. Also, during medieval times, most Bibles were written in Latin. There was also Catholic catechisms, and that is, in quotations, truths told by Catholics that were not biblically based. And also, believe it or not, the Catholic Church believes that the Bible is not the only source for the revelations of Elohim. So, which Bible should you use? What do you think the most popular Bible version is? Anyone? I see KJV, NIV, King James, KJV. All right, it is the NIV. Now, all Bible versions have their flaws, mainly because it is difficult to translate culture, idioms, and so forth. But the NIV may just be the worst version of the Bible one could use. Not to put pressure on anyone. But the NIV has missing verses, it has changed meanings of verses, and it even contradicts other translations. Let's look at a few. Luke 9:56 in the KJV says, "For the Son of Man is not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. And they went to another village." NIV just says, "And they went to another village." Matthew 18:11 in the KJV, "For the Son of Man is come to save that which was lost." In the NIV, it's not there. In that gap between verse 10 and 12, I didn't do that. That's exactly how I copied it out of the NIV. The one I was looking at went from Matthew 18:10, and the next verse was Matthew 18:12. We getting the point yet? Revelations 8:13. "And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of Shamayim, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the 3 angels, which are yet to sound." The NIV, "And I beheld and heard an eagle flying through the midst of Shamayim, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the 3 angels, which are yet to sound." Didn't know there were eagles in the Shamayim, nor did I know that they could talk. Luke 4:44, KJV, "And he preached in the synagogues of Galilee." NIV, "And he preached in the synagogues of Judea." Now, Galilee and Judea are 2 different places, separated by Samaria. That's a huge difference, I would say. How about this one? Micah 5:2 in the KJV. "But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me that is to be ruler in Yasharel, whose goings forth have been from old, from everlasting." NIV, "But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall be he come forth unto me that is to be ruler in Yasharel, whose goings forth have been from of old, from ancient times." Did anyone catch the difference between the two? The KJV says that it's one from old, from everlasting, meaning that he has no beginning and he has no end. The NIV says from old, from ancient times. This would be one that had a beginning and lived in ancient times and is going to return again. Very, very different. So which version of the Bible should you use? Me personally, I use the KJV. It is what I'm used to and what I grew up reading. I understand its nuances, but more importantly, I couple it with an interlinear Bible as well. All the other Bibles on this list are derivatives of the KJV. Now, for someone looking to read the Bible just to read it, I guess the ESV isn't too bad, but it does contain a few errors. I also own a few RSVs, but found that some contain extra chapters and verses, and some are missing chapters and verses. For some reason, I have never found two RSVs that are identical. Now, any Bible that you are going to use needs to be coupled with cross-referencing and understanding of the language and of the culture. Now, one Bible that has become increasingly popular that I am no longer fond of is the Cepher for several reasons. For one, it contains extra books that actually contradict the teachings of the Bible. Two, its translation of words seems to be a bit off, making the reader to have to focus more on understanding the pronunciation of words rather than understanding the content at hand. And lastly, it contains words that are not truly words. Most importantly, its usage of Mashiachim to denote the followers of Mashiach. In the whole of the Bible, Mashiach is never used in a plural sense. Now, Mashiach is a word that means anointed, and it is only used to denote a priest that is anointed. And when used in reference to the Messiah, it is always capitalized. Now, if we are speaking of anointed in a general sense, that word is H4888, Mishkah. And I will explain why this is important. First, understanding the persuasion, if you would, of those who created the Cepher, and understanding that people of that persuasion often challenge Yahusha as being the Messiah by saying it just means anointed one. With that, they will point out that all priests were Mashiach, or all priests were anointed ones. If using the Cepher to prove Messiah is Messiah, you would fail immediately due to this. I do appreciate the Cepher's layout of useful terms in the beginning, though. This is good. So, it is not my intent to persuade you one way or the other. Just giving you the facts, in my opinion. Use whatever allows you to gain understanding of the teachings, culture, and language the best. As I mentioned in the beginning, Bereshit is extremely instrumental in assuring you are approaching the rest of the Bible in the correct manner. And with that, I look forward to embarking on this new chapter with you and learning and discovering things from all of you as well.
One of the ways that the Most High has blessed me this year is by bringing like-minded individuals into my life that I can pray, read, and fast with. I'm super grateful for all of them. Shout out to FOTW, follow